Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets, or of course you can subscribe to the channel Let's Talk Boxing. There's a whole bunch of topics I want to talk about. Anthony Joshua, Vasyl Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, a whole bunch of stuff. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, but you know me, when I get talking I can really talk. So I'm going to end up making a second video, I think. For this particular video, let's start off talking about the morning after the night before, the fantastic victory of George Kambosos over Teofimo Lopez, and some of the emerging narratives that have arisen that I find to be somewhat concerning for the sport as a whole, not just with regards to Kambosos, but also with Lopez, with some of the judging, and with Vasyl Lomachenko. So let's talk about it. Let's explore it. First and foremost, I rewatched the fight and had it slightly closer than I did initially. Initially, I had it 9-3 to Kambosos with a couple of swing rounds. Upon closer inspection, I felt that one of those swing rounds, the ninth, actually went to Teofimo Lopez. Kambosos was in control of the round, most of the round, and then he got caught with 3 solid shots late on. And upon first viewing, I didn't realise he was as buzzed as he was. I thought they were good solid shots that he took well. Well, having rewatched it, although, yeah, he took them well still. I mean, it never looked like he was about to hit the canvas or be seriously hurt. They were solid enough to affect him. He was affected by them. And so I believe Teofimo Lopez won that round. And so I had it 8-4 to Kambosos as a final score. Even if you give the other swing round to Teofimo Lopez, that means at best he lost 7-5. So this idea that he won 10-2 as he claims post-fight, that's just utterly delusional. As is it ridiculous that Eddie Hearn came out and said, I think that, you know, Kambosos won the fight. Is a draw possible? Maybe, but probably not. Nah, mate, there's no about it. This wasn't a draw. Kambosos won the fight. If you're trying to give as many rounds as possible to Teofimo Lopez, at best he lost 7-5, right? But it's not just a public narrative or Teofimo Lopez himself who's uttering these ridiculous things and with some emerging narratives that are somewhat concerning. It's also the judges that are pushing this. Now, Frank Lombardi deserves a massive shout out, because when a judge does well and he gave a very solid scorecard, we need to praise the judge, right? He had it a bit closer than I did. He gave the other swing round to Lopez as well that I thought went to Kambosos. But nonetheless, he had it 115, 111 to George Kambosos overall. A very fair card. The other two judges, however, Don Trella, who inexplicably had Teofimo Lopez winning the fight, ludicrous, and Glenn Feldman, who actually had it 115, 112 to Kambosos. The reason he had it 115, 112 rather than 115, 111 like Frank Lombardi is because, like Don Trella, he gave the first round as a 10-9 round to George Kambosos, a round that he dropped Teofimo Lopez in. Now, there's a precedent for this when it comes to these cash cow fighters in the lightweight division. When Luke Campbell dropped Ryan Garcia, one or two of the judges gave it a 10-9 round. What is that all about? The idea behind this is that the guy was getting battered to such an extent that one little moment shouldn't detract from that and turn the round around in such dramatic circumstances. That's ludicrous. We're not talking about a situation here where George Kambosos looked like he was on the verge of going. He wasn't getting battered and knocked out, his head being flung all over the place, and you're thinking he's one shot away from being caught. All of a sudden he throws this shot from out the blue, clips Lopez. Lopez's glove touches the floor, he's up at the count of 1, and you're thinking, that's a flash knockdown, he's absolutely killing him. We can't give this a 10-8 round. It's not a true reflection of what's occurring. That's not what happened here. What happened here is that Teofimo Lopez came out of the blocks looking to take his head off. Now, whenever you get that sort of frenetic tempo, things are going to look messy. It happened with Chisora going after Alexander Usyk, a bigger man with more mass, a bigger frame, coming at you as fast as he can, throwing the kitchen sink at you. As you're trying to escape, you're ducking, you're talking about a game of inches, shots are whizzing past your face. When you're trying to move around and he's trying to cut off the ring, your feet are colliding, your knees are hitting, you're bumping each other. There's going to be some little stumbles, not punches. They're not stumbles off of punches, but as you're trying to escape, it looks frenetic. You are under pressure. But he maintained his composure. The vast majority of the stuff was missing. There was a solid uppercut that landed, and 2 short right hands as Kambosos ducked to try and get out of the way, land on the side of his head just prior to the knockdown. None of this stuff ever made Kambosos look like he was in serious trouble. He was just frenetically moving. To the outside viewer, it might have looked like panic. In reality, he's moving and evading the vast majority of this stuff. He's showing composure. No way does this warrant a 10-9 round. It was a 10-8 round. But what is clearly potentially able to happen is the manipulation of scorecards, loopholes to enable cash cows to be protected. That's what it can look like to a cynic, right? Alternatively, if there's no corruption or favoritism here, because we can't just assume that Glenn Feldman and Don Trella, without some sort of investigation, had a dog in the fight. We can't assume that. Well, then we're talking about incompetence. You are either not capable of judging at this level, or you need to explain yourself as to why you felt it was necessary to do this. Because had it been the other way around and it wasn't the cash cow, I guarantee you, George Kambosos is not going to be on the benefit end of that. He's not going to be sitting there only losing that round 10-9. It's ludicrous, man. And it's not just happened to these two guys, by the way. It's even happened to Manny Pacquiao in the past. Just because there's a precedent for something, though, it doesn't make it right. When you leave a loophole, you're leaving gaps, openings for the potential of manipulation. Now, additionally to that, I'm very consistent with this, by the way. I don't agree with a 10-8 round for a guy that hasn't been able to knock down his opponent. I don't care how much you're battering him. You can't be rewarded for not being able to get your opponent down. And your opponent cannot be penalized for showing the grit and the heart and the chin and the skill to evade the punishment that you're dishing out, potentially, for not going down. You can't punish him for not going down. Otherwise, I might as well take a knee and have that 10 seconds to recover. That'll be at your disadvantage. It's a 10-8 anyway. I might as well take my time to recover. But because he's a warrior, whoever that might be, whichever fighter we're talking about, and he decides to stay on his feet, you're going to punish him. These things have to stop, man, because they're not consistent. They bring this stuff up whenever there's an A side that seems to need protection, or clearly these judges, I don't know. You know what? I'd be interested to look into all of the knockdowns that these guys have ever judged over, presided over, and to look at if any of these knockdowns came in areas where they were against the run of play to a greater extent than that first round with Lopez and Kambosos, just to see if they scored that at 10-9 too. Come on, man. Now, anyway, moving on from that, let's talk about Daddy Senior. Listen, it's very easy for me to come out here. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little bit fired up. It's very easy for me to come out here and start to criticize all these people that have established themselves in the sport of boxing. I get a lot of love for you guys for the technical breakdowns, and I'm very grateful. You guys know that. I appreciate each and every one of you. But nonetheless, however good the breakdowns might be, I've not proven myself at any professional level, right? I am a guy on YouTube. Well, Teofimo Lopez Sr. with Joey Gamache, don't get me wrong, he's not, I'm not saying he's solely responsible for what he has created in Teofimo Lopez Jr., but nonetheless, he's played a role in helping create a guy who became the undisputed or unified, regardless of where you stand on this, undisputed according to the WBC. They've put out a tweet today to refer to George Kambosos as the undisputed lightweight champion of the world today. Which essentially, although it makes Devin Haney a full champion, in their eyes, it's the equivalent of an interim. We won't get into all of that. I agree long term, this is a horrendous thing. Regardless of whether you consider Kambosos to be undisputed or unified, the fact of the matter is Teofimo Lopez reached those heights, managing to dethrone the great Vasyl Lomachenko. So it's easy for me to sit here and criticize a guy who contributed to that, right? But nonetheless, I can only talk about what I see, and what I saw was terrible corner work and terrible advice. What on earth was he saying to him? Contradictory terms throughout. Teo, take your time, but hurry up and get this guy out of there. What? Take your time or hurry up? Go F this mother up, bro, is not the sort of technical details that a fighter who's getting his face busted up, who's in shock at the fact that he expected to come in the ring and show his dominance, and he's getting absolutely twatted all over the ring. He's trying to walk him down. He's getting his face pummeled. That's not the sort of advice that you give a kid. Go F this mother F, bro. Can't even get the words out. I'm trying not to say it properly so I don't trigger any algorithms, right? Go and F this mother up, bro. Come on, man. What is this? Terrible, terrible corner advice from Teofimo Lopez's father. I don't believe it would have made a difference to the outcome, even if he was given good advice, because Teofimo did try to make certain adjustments that were the correct adjustments. He did try to target the body. He did try to cut off the ring a little bit more effectively, but he just wasn't able to. I think he needs to work on certain things in the gym. And that's that. But yeah, I just wanted to make the point there about the judging, about the corner work, about this narrative that has occurred that Teofimo Lopez maybe had a draw. Shocking stuff. Well, there's another narrative that I also want to bring up, and that is this question of Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, Adam Abramovich, who is a very renowned boxing journalist who has written for Ring Magazine, and he's involved on Ring Magazine's ratings panel. So this is a serious dude in the sport of boxing, okay? He put out a tweet to say, with Kambosos doing better against Lopez than Loma did, what are the Loma fanboys doing right about now? So I tweeted Adam Abramovich to say, styles make fights. Loma got his tactics wrong against the bigger man and lost. Personally, I still think he's the best in the division, although Kambosos is definitely the number one in the division. There's a difference between ability and ratings. Kambosos is the top dog now, make no mistake. But just like I felt that Loma was better than Lopez, and Lopez was justifiably number one, I still think Loma's the best in the division. He wrote, your first two sentences contradict each other. And I said, how do they? Styles make fights. Different fighters require different tactics. Loma's physical construct didn't suit him trying to get on the back foot early, like Kambosos did. Kambosos was able to reach him with this long, fluid jab. Loma, who's a smaller guy who has, he didn't have the same sort of abilities, different types of abilities. Like I said, he's the number one, in my opinion, in terms of ability. But they're not the same attributes as Kambosos. Not everything Loma does is better than everything Kambosos does, right? They've got different attributes. It didn't suit him. And Adam Abramovich said, if you don't throw punches, you aren't going to win any fight in any style. It's the foundation of the sport. And I said, okay, but the point of the discussion is about how Loma fans interpret the situation post Lopez Kambosos. I'm just saying, personally, I believe Loma had an off night, tactically speaking, and I don't believe that last night's result somehow exposes Lomachenko. And he said, no, Loma did that to himself. And I said, look, I didn't apply otherwise. Loma contributed to his own downfall. He was the architect of his own downfall via the tactics, essentially. What he chose to do himself, right, was wrong with regards to how to approach the fight. But then I said, Adam, what exactly are you trying to say? Just for clarification, are you saying that Loma was exposed as in he's overrated because Teo lost to Kambosos? And Adam Abramovich then said, no, I'm not saying that at all. I was just taking a dig at some of Loma's fans. So I assume he's just trolling a little bit. So I'm not going to focus so much on Adam Abramovich himself because he's just having a laugh and a joke, it seems. But he's also an influential figure in the boxing press, and he's putting the idea out there. And there's a lot of people that latch onto this, and that then does in fact influence the media and governing boards. It provides a narrative. And then you can start to say certain fighters don't deserve a shot, or certain fighters aren't what they have deservedly built themselves to be, right? In other words, what people are doing is using this victory of George Kambosos, this phenomenal performance, rather than to give Kambosos props, to undermine Vasyl Lomachenko. Well, number one, not only does this expose an agenda, number two, and again, I'm not talking about Abramovich, but I'm talking about in general those that are upholding this view, because it's not just him. You're starting to see this emerge now on Twitter, particularly among Devin Haney fans. And I understand there are different fan groups and stuff like that. I get it. But let's try and be honest and neutral here. When you go down that route, what you are doing is engaging in cognitive dissonance. Because when there are people telling you, George Kambosos is the real deal, he's world class. I was one of them that felt he would actually lose to Teofimo Lopez, but I've been telling you he's world class. When you're telling me no, he's not, he's going to get battered in 3 rounds. When he then wins, instead of you turning around and saying, you know what, props to Kambosos, man. Like, he's much better than I thought he was. This guy's a real deal. He's world class. He's right up there with the top dogs. Is he the best in the division? Maybe not. I don't think he is. I think it's Lomachenko. But he's among the top dogs. He's in that conversation number right now. He's number one in terms of ratings. He's there, right? Instead of going down that route, what you do is maintain your position that Kambosos is not actually that good. And all it does is that it exposes Teofimo Lopez. It means that he's not that good. To be able to lose to a guy like Kambosos, who's not great, Lopez isn't that good. Well, if Lopez isn't that good, and he ended up beating Vasyl Lomachenko, well then guess what? Vasyl Lomachenko isn't that good. But Devin Haney, who's yet to beat a legitimate top 10 lightweight, he's the best in the world. He's brilliant. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Haney is a terrific fighter. Haney could very well beat Kambosos, and you have to give Kambosos massive props, by the way, because he mentioned him last night in the post-fight interview, and he's since said that he'd be more than happy to fight Devin Haney, but that he wants it in Australia. He's saying, I've earned that. I've been in the trenches. I've been all over the world. And he's right. Why is there this insistence that the champion has to travel to a foreign nation? He's literally relocated to America, gone and taken on a former champion in the UK, Lee Selby, a British champion. He fought a former champion in Mickey Bay in the United States, beat him, and then he beat a current undisputed or unified, depending on where you stand, lightweight champion of the world in his backyard. He has earned the right now to say, I want a homecoming, right? He wants all that smoke. You got to give this guy credit. He wants everybody. He was calling out Teofimo Lopez the moment he beat Lee Selby. So you got to give him maximum credit, maximum props. It's not impossible that Devin Haney beats him. Devin Haney is a terrific fighter. It's not impossible that Tank Davis beats him. Another one who's a terrific fighter. But we need to start seeing these CVs really getting built up now. These guys need to start fighting each other. One thing you've got to give credit for to Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez is that they were willing to, as that phrase goes, try to be great. Okay. So, yeah, let me know what you think about this narrative, this assault on the reputation of Lomachenko, which in turn undermines George Kambosos as well. This is, for me, is just cognitive dissonance. Lomachenko is the real deal. Teofimo Lopez is the real deal. And guess what? George Kambosos is the real deal. Finally, I just want to give a little shout out to Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor has conducted himself in a phenomenal manner over the last number of months. He's a proper man's man, a gentleman, in my opinion, in terms of the way he has conducted himself with a variety of very, very important issues that affect the world today. And he has also, since then, last night, said something which shows the level of class that this guy has been operating in of late. He was asked why he's been unusually quiet post Teofimo Lopez's defeat. Of course, these guys had a very severe beef back and forth with Teofimo Lopez saying he'd clean his clock, and the return argument was you're going to get knocked out early and so on and so forth. Well, he's come out and he said that the reason he's been quiet is because the result says it all and there's no need to kick a man when he's down. That's top class. There are a lot of fighters that wouldn't do that and they'd be rubbing it in. Teofimo Lopez is probably in a very bad place right now emotionally, and although the way he acts is embarrassing, Josh Taylor, one of the pound-for-pound top fighters in the world, has maintained his class. Let me know what you think about everything we've discussed, ladies and gents. I will be bringing another video. I'll probably have that one uploaded tomorrow. I'll do it right now and upload it tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. God bless. Chat to you soon.